SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Ford of Corinth has trucks built Ford tough with powerful engines and rugged exteriors. Whether you're hauling cargo, towing a trailer, or just need a reliable daily driver, Ford of Corinth has the truck for you, which includes a lifetime powertrain warranty. FordofCorinth.com.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, on location today at Itawamba Community College for commencement exercises. Rhino safe and sound back in the SuperTalk headquarters. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Friday, y'all.
What's going on down there, Rhino?
Oh, not too terribly much. We are to the end of the work week, so we just got to make it through today, and then everybody's got the weekend.
Yeah, man. Well, I, of course, traveled through your hometown en route to Fulton, Mississippi. That's where we are today. Your hometown of Tupelo. It was looking good as I moved through it.
Oh, yeah, I'll be heading that way this weekend to see the Littlest Wonder Niece's dance recital.
That is awesome. So, a whole bunch of stuff going on while we've got the President of the United States on a rather whirlwind tour. We talked to you about that yesterday over in the Middle East, cutting deals left and right, securing trillions of dollars of investment, and also brokering deals between Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, with American companies who are going to be exporting, selling their goods and services. Well, in the meantime, he's still working with Ukraine and Russia to cut out all the dang fighting. But he says, and this just resonated with me so perfectly, Rhino, he said, we need to stop the bombing and start the building. That is just so perfect. So perfect. And it is so true that if we didn't have to consume so much of our assets, our resources, our time, our money, in just keeping the world intact, protecting it from bad guys, think about how much wealthier we all could be if we diverted those monies that are taken from our paychecks, honestly, for that purpose. If folks would just act right. And you could make the same case, could you not, for the amount of money we all have to spend to protect our nation, its citizens, and its property domestically. If the bad people would just cut it out and we could focus more on creating jobs and wealth and innovation and societal value. Meanwhile, the Democrats, they just don't get it, do they? They continue to lean in to all of this radical ideology and seem to be prioritized. Well, they don't seem to be. They are. Extending deference and priority to the bad guys in this country. Some of them who have been exported from this country as well. And they continue to show their, you could almost call it a sort of sick form of reverence to these people. Look no further than Providence, Rhode Island, Now, last time I checked, if I got my history right, Rhode Island was one of the original 13 colonies. It's a little bitty state up there, tucked around New Jersey, New York. Well, in Rhode Island, the capital city of Rhode Island, Providence, I believe that's where Brown University is located, if I'm not mistaken. Their illustrious city council has decided to hoist a Palestinian flag atop the Providence City Hall today. This just seems perverted, twisted, disgusting. The city council of an American city has elected to fly the flag representing bad people, honestly. Certainly the regime that controls the place is, above their city hall. Do they not get it? Can we just go ahead and write that down? They simply don't get it. They continue to lean into this sort of nonsense. I find it just disgusting. This just was announced less than 24 hours ago. And it's just a continued divide over this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. By the way, Brown University, one of the Ivy League institutions, it may be the most left-leaning of all. And boy, that's out there when you're comparing it to the remainder of the Ivy League. Brown University may be the worst. Continue to see protests on campus, disruption in campus activities. Just incredible. But the capital city of one of the states that was among the original 13 colonies raising the flag of another country atop its city hall. I can't quite fathom it, honestly. But keep it up there, Democrats, because you're going to get waxed in the midterms. You are literally a boat at sea without a paddle. There are other metaphors that we can't repeat on the program, but it's just incredible what's going on in Rhode Island there, and really with the Democrats in general. Kind of a sick deal. So the president says, yeah, we need to be cutting deals with these countries, and I think he's right. With those business deals, and you receive investment from them, provide investment into their country as well, and you have this business relationship, financial business relationship, where everyone has a vested interest to succeed and produce a return on that investment. You're not only deterring possible hostile action, but you know what else you're doing? You're filling what could be a vacuum that could be filled by our most ardent foes in Russia and China. And that's why I think this is brilliant on the part of the president to get out there and do just that. And he's not afraid, as you know, to go right into the heart of a region that hasn't always been friendly to this country. And, of course, it's a trust but verify scenario, as the great Ronald Reagan taught us. This is not to be accepted at its face value, and I think the president totally understands that, and I think he'll do that. But this is good stuff. Meanwhile, he's brokering deals to try to bring an end to the hostilities between Ukraine and Russia, as well as having Pakistan and India stop the saber rattling, both of whom have nuclear weapons. And he issued a very strong message to Iran. He said, you're not going to have a nuclear program. And by the way, we're willing to do some business deals with you. You guys need it, by the way. We're willing to do that, but no nukes. You saw his statements on that, Rhino. He basically said, if you even think about getting the nukes out, the wrath of hell will be unloaded on you. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he issued very stern statements in that respect. And I think he's serious about it. And all it takes is, first, a little common sense. This is all rooted in common sense, is it not? It's just common sense to establish relationships with these countries that have plenty of money and need a relationship with this country. That's common sense. And the second thing is just negotiating from a position of strength. It just goes back to the old concept of peace through strength. And this president gets it, and he's wielding it on the global stage. What a departure it is from the prior president, who had to be led around by the Prime Minister of Italy about a year ago to the day, just was wandering around in the field there in Normandy and wouldn't even think about going in front of business people in these countries to negotiate deals and talk about business partnerships and relationships. So this is really good stuff. I'm really pleased to see that. Once again, we're at Itawamba Community College today. When we come back, we've got Emily Quinn, the mayor of the city of Fulton. At 10:35, it's Representative Donnie Bell. Stay with us.
For a limited time, get 0% financing for 84 months on John Deere 3E compact tractors at Ag Up. These versatile machines bring serious power. Offer ends July 2nd, 2025. Visit us in-store, online at agup.com.
Here's John and Corey Ravenstein.
Every 6 weeks, our diamond cutter flies from Tel Aviv, Israel to bring fresh production to Juniker Jewelry Company. And I personally hand-select every diamond for maximum brilliance, beauty, and value.
We buy thousands of diamonds a year, entire parcels of 1 carats, 2 carats, 3 carats, and more. Every shape and size in every price range.
And we conclude our business with that $1 million handshake and the traditional mazal.
It's a Yiddish term. Mazal means much more than the deal is done.
It means good luck and blessings upon you, your family, and business.
And that's how we feel about your diamond when you buy from us.
You can't buy a better quality diamond at a lower price anywhere in Mississippi. That's the Juniker Diamond Guarantee.
And why folks come from all over the state to Juniker Jewelry Company,
Mississippi's direct diamond importer. I want to shake your hand.
Juniker Jewelry Company. From anywhere in Mississippi, we're at 1485 Highland Colony Parkway, just south of 463 in Madison, and online at junikerjewelry.com, Mississippi's direct diamond importer.
Callaway's is everything that's growing green. That's what Callaway's is.
Spring is here, and Callaway's has everything you need to make your yard and garden beautiful. From trees, shrubs, and color plants to bulk soil for local delivery and pickup. This is Brent Callaway. Since 1954, Callaway's has been family-owned and operated. Located in Gluckstadt, south of Germantown High. New shipments of outdoor patio furniture have arrived. Callaway's showroom and warehouse are full. We have excellent prices and the largest in-stock selection in the South. We have a large selection of ceramic pots. All sizes, all colors, all on sale. Callaway's offers bulk soils for local delivery and pickup. We also offer landscaping. Our designers Clinton Streeter and Corey Castle can design and install your landscape. From a small job to a total transformation, just give us a call to discuss your landscaping needs. Visit Callaway's in Gluckstadt on Calhoun Station Parkway, south of Germantown High.
Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet is a proud sponsor of Ole Miss Sports. Rogers Dabbs Service, Parts, and Quick Lube are open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. Crossgates Brandon or RogersDabbs.com.
For a flipping good time, come down to Cock of the Walk.
The big news is shrimp at Cock of the Walk. Try all our shrimp offerings with our new shrimp platter, combination plates with shrimp and catfish or shrimp and chicken, or put a feather in your cap with all three in the red feather sampler. And don't forget the greens and coleslaw too, with locations on the Reservoir, Pocahontas, and 1 mile from the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee.
For a flipping good time, come down to Cock of the Walk.
I like chicken. I like fish. I like hush puppies.
I love it. Catfish is excellent.
For a flipping good time, come down to Cock of the Walk.
VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Check it out. Let's do this. The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Standing in the rain with his head hung low. Couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show. Heard the roar of the crowd. He could picture the scene. Put his head to the wall. And like a distant scream, he heard one guitar. Just blew him away.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays. Once again, we're at Itawamba Community College in Fulton, Mississippi. It's graduation day. That's where we are. So it's our pleasure to welcome now Emily Quinn, the mayor of the city of Fulton, Mississippi. Mayor, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, good to see you as well. Thank you so much for having me on.
You bet. So it's a big day here in Fulton, Itawamba Community College, with graduation exercises just completed. Heard lots of folks exclaiming as whoever they were there watching was
they were excited.
Going across the stage.
If they only knew what awaits for them on the other side.
It's awesome. So it's always a big family celebration, of course,
right.
When they come recognize their particular graduate, and it's really kind of neat to see all the smiles on the faces of all those that are connected to the individual
Absolutely.
that receives their
Proud
degree.
moment.
Ready to go out and set the world on
That's
fire.
right.
Isn't that right?
Conquer it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, driving in today, it looks like the city of Fulton is in great shape. Looks like it's thriving. Tell us what's happening.
Well, we've just been very fortunate to have partnerships with MDOT and the state representative Donnie Bell and state senator or our district senator Daniel Sparks. So thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Normally I have a really loud voice.
No, we just it's a little better now. So
okay, so they're always behind us, and it's just great to have those partnerships.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of repaving of major streets in the last couple of years, and that has made a huge difference for not only our citizens, but people just coming in to Fulton, for a quick bite or somewhere off I-22, even for the college.
Yeah. I know that in municipalities, infrastructure is a huge focus. It's where a lot of your investment goes, the revenues you collect. So many of these cities I talk to, Mayor, always discuss their aging water infrastructure.
Absolutely.
It's a big problem. What's going on here?
Well, pipes are just like our bodies. The older we get, the more we decline.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, our pipes have probably been underground, the ones that are decaying now, probably since the 1940s. So you think about it, and right now we're in the process. They do a new fiberglass liner where they shoot it through the pipes and they cure it, and it will withstand so many tons of pressure.
Yeah.
So I think this is the way that our future is going, and it's just nice to have that ability.
Yeah.
ARPA funds and MCWI funds have really helped us as well as far as drainage problems and water and sewage. So we have been very blessed to have those COVID funds. I wish we could get even more, but those funds run out. So, and I don't wish another COVID.
Well, you've got your rep right over there, and you got a senator coming on right
That's
after
right.
him that represents.
That's right.
your area,
I'll get them in a back corner and have a talk with them.
I think they're just trying.
I think I hound them to death already.
Well,
everybody wants a piece of the pie.
That's what they get paid to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
The big bucks.
How important is it and how valuable is it to have this fantastic institution right in your midst here in Fulton, that being Itawamba Community College?
It's such a blessing for workforce development, for our local students to come and be able to come to college practically cost free.
Yeah.
And that's through the First Foundation, through CREATE, and really, it's a blessing because a lot of students just don't have the funds or the means to come to college, and it gives them a great start on their adulthood. And very fortunate. You don't really realize how much the students add to the city until times like today,
and they're gone.
And
they'll be back.
And I'm like, dang, I'm ready for them to come back because that's where our tax dollars come from.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's right. That brings in a lot of commerce into the city, not only the students, but the visitors that come to see their families and so forth.
And we're about to get a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, cool.
So I'm super excited about that, and that is just going to be a tremendous help, not only to the city, but to the students as well, because I know they go bonkers
That's
over
big time.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. The lines will be long on that.
Long, super long.
That's all right. They're accustomed to that. So what about revenues? How's that looking for you?
Revenues have been doing really well, and I was very surprised because I hated to even do the tabulation from last year with all of the inflation. It's hard really for people to shop in general. So from 2022, our sales revenue has gone up 22%. No, 11%.
Okay.
11%. And then
That's significant, though.
From 23 to 24, it was just a smidge higher, but it didn't decline. So we're holding strong, and I just want to remind everybody to support your local businesses because they are the bread and butter to our communities, and that money just goes right back into helping the city make improvements and really make the quality of life better for everyone.
Yeah, it's worth reminding our audience that municipalities derive the vast majority of their revenue from sales tax.
That's right.
Sales
That's
taxes.
Right. Yes.
Some you'll see higher complement of property taxes, ad valorem taxes. But in general, the property taxes we pay mainly go to school districts, then to counties, then to municipalities, if it's within the municipality. But it's sales taxes that you guys primarily rely on.
We love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you want to see more consumption
we do.
within the municipality, right?
And then we have the pennies for parks that Representative Bell and Senator Sparks, they helped pass in legislature, and that's a 3% tax on prepared food at restaurants, and that's going to hopefully build us a great sportsplex in the next year or so, and we are ready to sign a contract. We're working on several different properties.
That's a big draw.
That are waterfront, and we want it to be unique, different from other sportsplexes around the state and neighboring states. So everybody will want to come to Fulton to play in those travel ball tournaments.
Yeah.
Speaking of ball, I've got to mention that our IAHS, Itawamba Agricultural High School softball ladies, they are at the state tournament in Hattiesburg right now, and they won their first game yesterday against the Purvis Tornadoes, and they will be playing them again today at 1:15. So everybody try to keep up with that. Send them good vibes on Facebook or whatever social media that you prefer. And so I'm just wishing them a good luck. Coach Mann has done a great job, Coach Moore and Coach Kite. The girls love them, and this is history. This is the first time we've ever done it.
Awesome. That time of year. That's going on.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything that you were tracking during the legislative session this particular year? I know everybody's kind of on pins and needles about getting a budget done.
That's right. That's right.
We're awaiting the signal from the governor.
That's right. The city did not ask for any kind of special funding this year. We've really been trying to help the county get some funding. So, if the county, if they are awarded it, it also benefits the city. So, I know it's a lot of pressure on both sides, and I just hope that, something will be settled soon.
Yeah, I think everybody
is maybe a good compromise.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough. We deal with it too, on a city county level. So it's just trying to find middle ground.
Yeah, I think that's where we are right now, and hopefully leadership will get something hammered out, and they'll gather back up under the dome and hopefully only stay for a little while.
I hope so.
And pass out some legislation.
Absolutely. And I tell them, all the time that I know that their jobs are not just limited to January through April. It's all year round.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Anything in particular you'd like to see the legislature do, that the particular needs you have in the city that you've talked to your rep and senator about? Got about 30, 40 seconds there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. Infrastructure is always, even though we had the ARPA funds, it's always a need. There's still so much to do. But I guess that's my main thing.
Okay.
And
well, that's a big part of what you do in the city.
Yeah, and I'm all for getting rid of that income tax, too.
Oh, yeah. Looks like that's going to happen. It'll take a little while, but that's in progress.
Yes.
Appreciate you coming on, Mayor. Thank
you so much.
Mayor Emily Flynn, thank you, of the city of Fulton, Mississippi. We're stepping aside for a break. The Element Wealth Studio has been relocated to Itawamba Community College for graduation day. When we come back, it's Representative Donnie Bell. Stay with us.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Welcome to our shop
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Okay, now you have a good one.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays live from Fulton, Mississippi. We're at Itawamba Community College, right in the heart of the campus. It's graduation day. The venue has cleared. The graduates have received their degrees, and I can see them outside with their families. A lot of smiles, a lot of happy faces. Really good to see. We've got Representative Donnie Bell now joining us. He represents this area. Representative Bell, tell us exactly what your district consists of in terms of the counties.
Roughly 75% of my district is Itawamba County, and then 25% is Monroe County.
Okay.
Including Smithville and Hatley, and the majority of Itawamba County.
I got you. This is always fun to see, isn't it, when all these families come to campus to see their graduates walk across the stage, and a bunch of work behind the scenes to make that happen.
Sure, and the students are happy, and they're moving on with their lives, either on to a university or going into a career. So it's exciting times. Their lives are changing.
Yeah. The Dr. Allen, his faculty, his staff, they do a fantastic job here, do they not?
Yes, we're very proud of Itawamba Community College and the commitment that they've made to this region and the difference that they make to this region and the state, and being one of the leaders in workforce development in the state of Mississippi. I'm very proud to represent Itawamba Community College.
And I know you're heavily involved in workforce development in the state of Mississippi. Talk to us about that.
Got a lot going on with workforce development in the state. We're diving into a lot of different things, trying to align the K-12 educational system with the community colleges system, and just taking those steps to align those programs, so hopefully we can get a workforce, actually our students into the workforce a year or so quicker than we have in the past. What we've got to understand is over the last really 50, 60 years, the educational system has really pushed kids for the academic 4-year degree. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to change that overnight, but we are taking steps for the career, the high demand, high paying jobs for career tech education. So it's going to take us some time, but with Accelerate and with what Dr. Courtney Taylor is doing with her team, the SWIB board, MEC, Mississippi Manufacturers Association, all those organizations, I feel like we're all pulling in the same direction.
There was a time not so long ago where many of those sorts of trade occupations were kind of low-tech and more physical skill, but that's not the case anymore. You need to be a pretty smart person to do lots of these jobs. HVAC technician, for example, is a pretty complex job and very highly paid as well.
Sure. a son, and I know I wear him out, but he's actually going to college to be an accountant, and I'm still trying to take some classes at the community college for HVAC.
Yeah.
To, start his own business one day. Or entrepreneurs, they do need the skill set in the trade. They also need the business skills to manage a business. So I think it's a win-win. And if you really look at successful people, a lot of them are young entrepreneurs that started their own business. So that's one of the things that we're really looking at, aligning those curriculums where we can get students into the workforce quicker with the certification or a recognized industry standard that makes them employable.
So one of the things that we've done here in the state not so long ago is we've placed these career coaches throughout the state at the schools. That's been a difference maker.
Yes, it really has. And we sort of stole that idea from the Create Foundation. It actually started in Lee County.
Okay.
And it was working well, and we took it throughout the whole state. And actually Mississippi received a national award last year in Washington for the career coach program. So it's been highly successful, and we're investing pretty heavily in the state in that program, and it seems to be bearing the fruit that we anticipated.
I was in Lowndes County yesterday. They were launching their big mega site, industrial site, and talking to the folks that run the communiversity there affiliated with East Mississippi Community College. You know what's so refreshing to see about this, just thinking about my time in college, is you didn't have a lot of interaction and collaboration between the private sector, the people that hired people, and the people that we were expecting to educate students to join the workforce. But that's not the case anymore, and Mississippi's leading the way in that.
Yes, and that's something that in the past, you're exactly right, business and industry has not had enough input onto what specific skills they need students at the K-12 level and even at the college level to learn and to know. But technology is changing so fast. I hate to say it, but a lot of times the school systems are behind the technology, and they cannot keep up with what business and industry is actually accomplishing in the job. So a lot of times we depend on those businesses and industry to help with the training.
Sure.
And so we're working through those steps. And I know you'll have Senator Sparks on later, and he's been very active in pursuing the workforce participation rate.
Yep.
I was told yesterday, and I hadn't checked the numbers, but like this area of the state is at 2.5% unemployment.
Very low.
But pretty much if you want a job, you can find a job. But is it the high-paying, high-tech jobs that we need? And do those people have the skill sets to fill those positions?
Yeah. Well, the fact that folks are working and contributing is certainly better than when they're on sidelines and living off the government. And so I think we'd all agree with that. But you're right. And Mississippi's making great strides in expanding our workforce of so-called knowledge workers, and that's going to boost overall per capita pay and household incomes, and we all benefit from that.
And, we had a brief thing with TVA here earlier in the week. The local school received a $210,000 grant to upgrade their
from TVA.
Yes, from
That's
TVA.
Awesome. Yeah,
and to upgrade their heating and cooling and electrical bills and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was based on the students participating and coming up with ways to lower the cost in their own school system.
Okay.
So things like that. We're involving kids and getting them involved in different issues across the state like that that's really making an impact on their career choices.
Yeah. You may not have any answers for us today, but what are you hearing from Jackson about you guys getting back together to put a budget together?
I think pretty much everything, my understanding and what I'm being told is, as far as state agencies, those numbers have been agreed to and have been set. The issue is, do we fund any other things outside of the normal budget? And that seems to be a sticking point right now.
Well, leadership apparently, from what we understand, is meeting, trying to come to some agreement there so that you guys can get back together.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to be done with it. and move on to something else.
Any other thoughts about the 2025 legislative session? Anything that got accomplished you were particularly proud of? Anything you stopped short of and didn't get done that you want to see get done?
Well, there's several things that didn't make it across the finish line. The financial literacy was one thing. Actually creating a task force to align the K-12 and the community colleges programs didn't make it, and then the work from home telework thing that didn't make it. So hopefully those things will come back, but we're still moving forward with all pieces to come together with a plan to make that happen. And Senator Sparks and I work very well together. We're blessed to represent pretty much the same area of the state, and he chairs workforce on the Senate side, and luckily I can vote for him, but he can't vote for me. So he needs me more than I need him.
I love it. Well, you guys may be able to work some little quid pro quo deals out.
We're working on it.
You have any thoughts about I guess what many would consider the marquee legislation that got signed by the governor, and that would be the big tax reform bill? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think, I'm glad it passed. It's something that will help our state tremendously with economic development. When dealing with companies looking at coming to Mississippi, I think it's going to be another era in the quiver for Mississippi. At the same time, I do feel like we do need to look at adding a trigger to it just to add some protection in the future. So hopefully that's something that we can work together next year to make sure that we're keeping Mississippi safe.
Yeah. I mean, and really the uncertainty of what's happening in Washington with respect to funding down to the state level is I think, going to maybe be a cause for some further analysis and evaluation at a minimum on that front.
Yeah, and really on that, with what they're talking about with the education system and how that's going to affect workforce, it's going to put a lot of tremendous pressure on us to do the right thing. But at the same time, I think it's going to open the door for us in Mississippi to move forward with something that's out of the box, that it's not regulated by the federal government, and we can help move and educate our students and move Mississippi even forward in the future.
Yeah, well, it's certainly been, it is an honor to be here today. This is a fantastic institution. Mississippi's blessed with great leadership in the form of these community colleges. I think sometimes we take that for granted, but we've got a fantastic community college community and sector here in the state. And we appreciate all your help and your work. And thanks for coming on, Representative Donnie Bell.
Thank you. And I would like to give a shout out to all the community colleges, because they really have stepped up for workforce development in this state, and the majority of them are doing an outstanding job. And I just want to give a shout out to all the community colleges.
Fantastic. Agree. Thank you, Representative Bell. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Folks, we're stepping aside. We're coming right back for a break. One more segment, and then it's Daniel Sparks.
Looking for land?
Covering the stories that matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert. Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. The Element Wealth Studio traveled up to Fulton, Mississippi. We're on the campus of the beautiful campus of Itawamba Community College. It's graduation day. Big day. This is what it's all about when you go to college, is getting that degree, which I've always described as a license to go learn more, is really what it is. The key takeaways from, I think, completing your education in college and receiving a degree is really a couple of takeaways. First is that you finished something. You finished something. That's extremely important. It is especially important to employers. There are a lot of people that our government is a great example of it. Everything's always partially finished. It's right now studies at 90% complete, like forever. Never gets to the 100%. And it may be, to a great extent, because of the phenomenon that you have articulated. What would you say? It's a not my job. And I
not
think
my
that's
problem,
so right.
problem.
And I think that contributes to unfinished business. Not my problem. That's right. Okay. Well, they're similar in nature. Not my problem. That's a great way to describe it. So you're finished something. And then the other thing is you've learned how to learn. That's actually more important than the content you learn because it's ever-changing. It's dynamic. And there was a time when you'd go to college, you get your degree, you kind of wipe your hands and say, okay, done. I got all that knowledge. And that would carry you for a long time, if not for the duration of your professional career. That is not the case anymore. Ever-changing, ever being disrupted, you need to learn how to learn. Those are the most valuable folks and the ones who are going to succeed and thrive in life. The worst mistake you can make is assuming you know everything. And have you ever noticed that really smart people recognize their intellectual limitations? And the people that aren't quite so smart think they know everything. That's what we get from the bureaucrats, the faceless bureaucrats in government. Just shut up, sit down, we know what we're doing kind of stuff. Speaking of which, meanwhile, up there in government, we got multiple factions that are revolting on the House Budget Committee. They're threatening the one big beautiful bill. And there are lots of people that have different reasons, they would say, of opposing the legislation. The big one is the group that wants to increase the state and local tax deduction, which currently is limited to $10,000. The bill as drafted would increase that to $30,000. They're not satisfied with that. They want to take it even higher. I've seen some propose up to $120,000. It's crazy to think, is it not, that so many people would pay that sort of state and local taxes? Now, I understand you've got some wealthy people in these deep blue states, produce a lot of income, they have lots of property, they pay lots of state taxes, and even local taxes, local income taxes, for example, in the city of New York, which I believe exceeds the income tax in the state of Mississippi, just for the privilege of living in New York City. But they want that to be increased. They're not happy. You got Chip Roy. He's a Texas Republican. You see him a lot on the news. He's planning to vote against the bill in the Budget Committee because he says that the work requirements for Medicaid, that's one of the key spending cut provisions of the legislation, it doesn't go into effect until 2029. That's an eternity from now. A million things could happen to reverse that. He wants to speed that implementation up, as well as the phasing out of the clean energy tax credits. Those, of course, incorporated in the arguably most misnamed measure in the history of the United States, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was replete with a number of energy tax credits. I'm still looking for somebody that actually went to the store and bought an electric water heater to take advantage of the tax credit associated with such a transaction. I've yet to find anybody that's done that, or upgrading their electrical panel. How misguided was that? It's because the people that make these laws don't understand or appreciate basic human nature. But he wants to speed that process up, the phasing out of those boondoggle credits. So they want more spending cuts. I'm with them. You got, and then on the other hand, you got the blue state Republicans that want to increase the salt cap. So you got the different factions kind of going at it. And I don't know where it's going to land. The Speaker of the House yesterday says, yeah, I still feel good about getting this thing out, despite the fact you've got fiscal hawks threatening to vote against it because of insufficient spending cuts, and the New York and California, some of that caucus that want higher salt deduction. You need some answers on that before it hits the floor, because it's going to fail on the floor, and that wouldn't look very good. We're going to step aside for a break. It's Fox News and SuperTalk News coming next. After that, we'll kick off the second hour with Senator Daniel Sparks.
hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, another hour of the talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Begin your transition now.
Now on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We are live from Itawamba Community College up here in northeast Mississippi, right in the heart of the city of Fulton on this
Friday, y'all.
I thought maybe you'd already started your weekend there, Rhino. Didn't hear you for a second.
Oh, no,
We're
just got
pleased
some
to
place in
welcome
the air.
now Senator. I got you. We've got Senator Daniel Sparks now joining us here at Itawamba Community College. Senator, good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for coming to Fulton, Mississippi.
Yeah, man. Beautiful area up here, of course, but this is a fantastic institution, is it not?
It really is. Dr. Allen and the team here have done a phenomenal job of showing what you can do in the community college environment, and also partnering with the mayor and with the city and the board of supervisors. They take so much pride in this college being here, and just really ingratiates itself into the community. And so we're blessed across the state to have community colleges, but Itawamba certainly sets itself apart.
It's a big asset, are the community colleges for our state. We have 16, I believe, across the state. 15.
Yes.
Okay. And they just do such great work, and it's such a fabulous option for so many kids when they get out of high school to go the community college route. Many of them just need a little additional education, and then they're primed. They're ready to enter the workforce at working jobs that provide substantial pay. It's not like the old days. I mean, there's lots of job opportunities that don't require the traditional 4-year degree that we always thought you had to receive to really pursue higher paying, more professional occupations. But, man, a lot of these jobs that these community colleges prepare these kids for, they're ready to hit the streets running. They make dang good money.
They really are, and I know you had Representative Bell on earlier, and one of the key things he's focused on is streamlining our K-12 and IHL in the CTE world. And the reason for that is that you very well may dovetail into a Tupelo or Itawamba County or someone in the jurisdiction of Itawamba Community College that they have a program, maybe at the Belden Center in Tupelo, that they actually have somebody taking classes as juniors and seniors that maybe then they add 1 year at community college and they have a really high paying situation. So they've done a great job partnering with our K-12 institutions. And I will say this, Representative Bell has been a champion for CTE for many, many years, and it is very good to see those things come into fruition. But our community colleges are two big things about them. One is, for a lot of Mississippi is rural. I graduated with 46 people, and I went to community college. It would have been a pretty big step for me to go straight onto an IHL campus. So it was also very much an economic decision, too, because the cost factor is very good. The region here at ICC and as well as Northeast over the years, we've had tuition assistance, tuition guarantee for several years. Supervisors, businesses, industry in the area has made sure that if you want to go to community college, you could.
Yeah.
And so those are the things we're continuing to try to focus on, looking at a CTE, a last dollar scholarship situation from the state. The main thing, looking at your return on investment. And the second thing is they are very nimble. So when we have economic development opportunities, who's our partners? Dr. Courtney Taylor, who does she pick up the phone and call? It is the community college system. So I'm excited to see the work they're doing. And the investments over the last several years, and kind of tip your hat a little bit to the folks who invested in site development grants. Yesterday in Columbus, the big announcement for the new site down there, the mega site. And we've seen that here in North Mississippi, just the assets that we've invested in. Sometimes that's not, news-breaking situations when you allocate funds to long-term investments, whether it's water and sewer. That's why I think the ARPA match program that we put in a couple of years ago is transformational for cities and counties. That's money they didn't have to spend or won't have to spend in the future, that we were able to maximize those dollars from the state that came through the federal government, but for the state state to encourage a match program to invest that, because those investments are key.
Yeah. Well, you're so right. I think the state has made great strides with respect to workforce development and career technical education, the career coaches, a lot of initiatives, lots of different efforts and programs that have been put in place. And I think those are key to us securing the significant amount of economic development projects that we've seen come into the state, announced in the last couple of years.
It is, and one of the key things is they want to know, do you have a trained or trainable workforce? And knowing that we have this partnership now with Accelerate leading the way, it leads into some of the legislation that we passed this year, the one-door policy, which actually Representative Bell and I co-chair. And that is a situation where we want to make sure we're really operating with the best synergy that we can across the state, that we're not operating in silos. If someone comes in and needs assistance at the Department of Employment Security or Rehab Services or the Department of Human Services, that we are taking that individual who's a Mississippian. To start with, that's a citizen of our state, and they're saying, I have a need, whether it's a need in education, it's a need in child care assistance, food assistance. We need to look at that person as a state and say, okay, how can we make your situation better? How can we, as a state, step in and invest in you so that you don't need to rely on the state for benefits, that you actually can go out and provide for your family, that you can go out and make those decisions that come along with raising your earning capacity? I know Steve Massengill, the representative, talks about a family member of his that went to industrial maintenance, and he talked about how he went through a community college and how good that's been and the wages he's making. And that individual will get to make decisions the rest of their life about where they want to live, what they want to do, what kind of car they want to drive. And it's all because they invested in themselves at one of Mississippi's community colleges to raise their lifetime earning capacity. And we just, we need to sell that story because that's what they do.
Yeah, and a lot of these graduates, too, Senator Sparks, they stay in our state. They get work inside our state, and that's important.
If Dr. Allen was standing here, and I'll bet you he could tell you exactly the percentage of people
he pays attention
that stay. That's right. And Dr. Ford up at Northeast, I get to represent both of those footprints. They won't throw me out of the building, I don't think, for talking about Northeast. But they do an excellent job working with our community, working with our high schools, but also with our industry partners, because that's big, especially in some of the CTE that we're training for in the future. The equipment is expensive. We may go out and build a building, but that equipment, if I'm training you on old, outdated equipment, then that's not good. So, we want to continue to invest in those things. Accelerate is kind of a clearinghouse now to help make sure we're putting those assets in the right places. And I think it's good. And, of course, the 15 community colleges are strategically placed all over our state.
Yeah.
So from the east side of the state to the west side of the state and everywhere in between on the Gulf Coast, those opportunities are there.
Well, there's no doubt about that we're seeing more collaboration between the community colleges and even our Institute of Higher Learning, the four-year schools as well. They're too working with industry, and they're listening. They're not just creating curricula and teaching students and sending them on their way. They're basically plugged in now to industry and finding out what skills do these students need to have to hit the ground running, and that's when they're employable.
That's correct, and I do think, and people are probably going to get tired of hearing me say this, but ROI is going to become so important, return on investment. With the federal government, with the cuts at DOGE, with all the different things going on, that's why in this one-door policy, we're talking about synergy. We're not saying some people aren't doing their job well. We're saying, how can we do our job better? How can we be more efficient? How can we use artificial intelligence? How can we use some of this data mining that's out there to make sure that nobody slips through the cracks, that we do a better job? Now, nobody gets more frustrated than me than not getting to talk to a human and being forced to a bot.
Yeah.
Now, the bots are getting better.
Right.
But I like to see a human being. So, I mean, the state, we do have employees, and they need to be receiving of our citizenry as they reach out to them. But there's so much work that can be done and benefits that can be had by embracing technology, and it's something that we have to do to keep up. And again, from a funding standpoint, we're going to have to tighten the belt in some areas, but I think a conservative is always looking to say, can we tighten the belt even in times of maybe federal funds flowing every direction? That's usually when you get loose. That's usually when you sort of relax your rules a little too much, and then when you have to tighten them back up, everybody, is maybe focused on the wrong thing. It should have never gotten loose.
What are you hearing from Jackson about gathering back up? I got to ask you that.
Sure. And I think Representative Bell said, probably the same thing I would say, in the sense of the basic budgets, I think, have pretty much been agreed on.
Yeah.
There's a plus up for PERS. There's a plus up for insurance, that we all expected in these budgets. CPS or some group may have come forward and said, hey, we need this to, particularly focus on this area of government. But we've plussed up a lot of budgets in the last few years. When when the lieutenant governor came in 6 years ago, we were in a position with CPS, DOC, a lot of these places. So we've seen plus up in budgets. But now it's deciding, what does the future look like? What's it going to be from the federal government? What does Medicaid cost? And I think that's where the real discussion is what are we going to do with the excess funds right now that we have in the state treasury?
Still projected to produce around a $500 million surplus, I believe.
I think so, $400 to $500 million. The big question, though, is, too, I think the Senate's position, I know mine is, and the Lieutenant Governor's is, we need to make a lump sum infusion into PERS, $200 to $300 million. I think we need to bump the rainy day fund because we're going toward the pathway to elimination of income tax.
Yep.
Raise that rainy day fund up to a reasonable number.
We're about at a break. You got to go? You hang around?
I'd love to hang around.
All right, we got Senator Daniel Sparks. We're on the campus of Itawamba Community College. It's graduation day. We're coming right back.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
We're rolling. Hit it. Go. Play it.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me.
Vintage Phil Collins there bumping us into this segment. Appreciate that, Rhino. We're continuing our discussion with Senator Daniel Sparks. He represents Senate District 5. That's up here in the northeastern corner of the state. Beautiful area of the state. Always enjoy coming up here, Senator. You guys are blessed. And this is one of those deals where, like, am I in Mississippi? If you go to Tishomingo, you kind of wonder, you feel like you're not in the same state.
That's right. It's the foothills of the Appalachians. I'll tell you, we are blessed. And with the 10-time waterway, with Bay Springs Lake, with the state parks up in Tish, and just you look everywhere you look, it's a beautiful part of the state. We're very fortunate.
Absolutely. All right, so just continuing our discussion about 25, the unfinished business of 2025. We left out one little detail, which is we didn't get a budget passed. This was an odd session that it felt like, Senator, there was more contention between the sides of the hall than I think I can remember seeing in the past, and much of it stems from the way this tax bill went down. We have to be honest about that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I'm going to tell you there are some great folks on both ends of that hall, and many times we even agree on policy. We just may not agree on process.
Okay.
There's no question the House has been pushing for the elimination of income tax. That's fine. That's great. I think that's good policy. The question is, are we going to deal with the other major issues, including the largest liability of the state, which was the retirement system?
Right.
And that didn't seem to be a focus. So when we came together with the bill, ultimately we ended up with a bill that literally takes us to the pathway of elimination. It lowers the tax on groceries. It solves partly our funding issues for maintenance of roads and bridges, and it stabilized our retirement system. I don't know how you can't be happy with that bill. So the people that seem to think that we're upset, I'm not upset. I'm very thankful that we were able to pass not one piece of major legislation. It may be one bill, but it really had probably 4 or 5 major pieces that in any one year would be a good bill that's passed. But, the process is we got to run government. And the first thing you got to do is you got to appropriate the dollars. And I'm not going to go too in-depth on that other than there are joint rules that are adopted between the House and Senate that set the deadlines and the schedules for each type of bill. And if we're going to do different than the rules, let's adopt a different set of rules. So we are where we are. It's nothing to be proud of. I'm going to be honest with you. It ought to be embarrassing. Our constituents really don't care who's right or wrong. They just care that you didn't get your job done. So when the governor calls us back, and we've given him the keys to the car, as I continue to tell people, we'll go back when he calls us and we'll get a budget hammered out. The real question is, we've got $1 billion in capital expenditure fund, which is our leftover. We've had an excess. We have approximately $4.5 to $500 million this year if we hit our projections at the end of June. So there's about $1.5 billion, and that is being commented on a lot about what we should do with that money. Well, in my opinion, the first thing that we should do is do a serious cash infusion into PERS, $200 to $300 million. I've been consistent on that. I think the Lieutenant Governor's been consistent on that. I've not heard that from the House. Now, I've heard a lot of talk about what they had in HB1, which you and I have talked about, was $100 million. But it was $100 million
from the lottery,
taken from the lottery, which was taken away from MDOT.
Essentially, it's paid for by gas taxes.
That's correct. And then $20 million that was taken from the Educational Enhancement Fund.
Yep.
So I didn't support doing it that way. What we've done with the reforms in the legislation is the ORP reform will deliver tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars as the years go by. Tier 5 is going to deliver that. So there is already dedicated funds going toward it, but I do want more in a streamlined fashion. And it's easy for me to just stand up here and say, here's $100 million from this source, and that's easy. What we're trying to do is look at the whole system and say, how can we generate this revenue? And again, if we plus up our rainy day fund, I would like to say that $265 to $300 million should be the growth off of it go toward PERS. You pick up another $12 or $15 million there. But I want $100 million or more annually from a dedicated stream. But I do believe this year, if we put between $250 and $300 million into PERS, what that does is help keep the cost down on cities and counties, because they were asked for 25.92% from the PERS board, and they didn't want to do 22.4. Well, we're headed to 19.9. So every dollar the state puts into the PERS system is a way to keep cities and counties and K-12 from having to pay a higher employer rate, which they really don't need to have to pay.
And objected to.
That's correct, and strongly objected to. Then, if we plus up the rainy day fund, I think that's the smart thing to do. Is you lower your revenues, you up your savings account. You've got $500 million right there you spent. Now the question becomes, what do you do with Medicaid?
Yeah.
What do you do on the $400 million the feds have frozen at this time? $138 million of that, which is ESSER funds, that's K-12 funds. I can go ahead and tell you, I've looked at the list. $875,000 of that is right here in Itawamba County, the Itawamba County school system.
Really?
So I want to make sure they have that taken care of. That's $138 million. I'd take the position even like this, because everybody wants to talk about a local project bill. $875,000 at Itawamba County schools is about as local as it gets for me. And if we supplant the ESSER funds, we're spending $138 million. We have to spend the $40 million with MDOT to draw down the federal match dollars on transportation. That'd be foolish.
Right.
We need to continue to invest in our industrial parks, the MEDC grants. Why wouldn't we do that? What happened in Columbus is a good example of why we do those type of things. We've got several areas that we need ERBR on the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund. Part of the way the gas tax has been broken down will benefit state aid, so that money's going to local governments. The use tax percentage has been bumped up to go to local governments. We understand that. Senate Bill 2802 addresses dollars for fire trucks and volunteer fire departments. That's a big area. Like I know in my district, people need help buying these fire trucks. The costs are outrageous. So we certainly understand the need to do local project bills. But if you're sitting on $1 billion and you know your revenues are coming down in the future and you don't know what the federal government is going to do as far as funding, that's an issue. The second thing is, and there's some confusion on whether this is project or not, our community colleges and our IHLs are funded through the state to a great degree. And we used to do what is called a bond bill. We borrowed the money.
That's right.
Well, I said during the whole tax debate, we're not fixing to spend every dollar we got to pass a tax bill and then turn around and borrow money. That's not very conservative. So we anticipate that the community college and the IHL portion again this year will be direct money out of CapEx instead of going and borrowing that money. I think those are state assets. Where we are right now, I mean, this is Itawamba Community College, but this is the state of Mississippi.
So talk about this fund. You mentioned at the top of the interview that $875,000 that this school district here, right? You said
That's correct.
Would lose. That's federal money that flows into the state for education.
That's correct. ESSER funds came out, especially during the COVID period of time, and there were construction projects primarily. I heard Lance Evans this week speaking Tupelo, and I think $42 million of it is construction. But you may be waiting on your HVAC unit. They're under contract, and that's the thing. These are our school districts who are under contract. You don't want them breaching the contract on a construction issue or something they've ordered. Now, we may not supplant every dollar of that, just like the $214 million at the Department of Health. If the state has to come in and supplant those funds, I can assure you it will be on a case-by-case basis. And there may be some that we say, I wouldn't have funded that with free money. And that happens sometimes. But those ESSER dollars, the Department of Education has withdrawn those funds, and we're in mid-process. And we had already, by the way, been granted an extension. And so the superintendent, Lance Evans, has communicated with Linda McMahon, who's the Department of Education Secretary, and has asked for that to be reinstated. Now, if that gets reinstated, that really frees us up. You know, I have no problem if once we come back in January, if we see things clearly, this extra money gets replaced, maybe we have clarity on Medicaid or we have clarity on other things, there's no reason we can't do local projects even in January.
Yeah.
We'll do too if you want to. I'm all for helping our local units of government, but right now our concern as a state should be that we invest in our state assets, that we make sure that our community colleges, our IHLs are funded, that our MDOT is funded, because everything we do at MDOT primarily is maintenance.
Before we go, are you concerned that down the road, as we, in accordance with the tax reform bill, that we start chipping away at the income tax, that we may approach a budgetary problem?
I'm not. The investment that we're seeing right now, I mean, we've got probably 3,000 or 4,000 jobs in Marshall County that have yet to go online that have been announced. Aluminum Dynamics down in Columbus. We have a lot of good things out there. I give Governor Reeves credit. We've had substantial investment in the state of Mississippi. So I do see growth. I don't see a budgetary issue because I think we are going to tighten our belt, but there's also a phase-in of the income tax elimination. And if we had a problem, everybody forgets, everybody wants to talk about step 2 of the 2-step process. Step 1 is a full rainy day fund. If you do not have a full rainy day fund, so if we've had a really bad budgetary year and the governor has to reach into the rainy day fund to balance some budgets, because we can't borrow money or print money in Mississippi, as you know, we have to run a balanced budget. We're in a position to where that's not going to happen. So I feel confident going forward.
Well, the only reason I say that, we only got about 20 seconds left, is we're pretty much putting all our eggs in the sales tax revenue basket. And that
we are. We cut to $2.1 billion.
Yeah. Senator Daniel Sparks has been our guest here at Itawamba Community College. When we come back, it's a student, Aaliyah Hudson. Stay with us.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Sun coming up over New York City.
We are back. It's Middays. We have relocated the Element Well studio to Itawamba Community College up here in Fulton, Mississippi. It's our great honor to now speak to Aaliyah Hudson, an Itawamba Community College grad. Aaliyah, thanks for coming on. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, so you got lots of stuff on your gown there.
I do.
You must have did pretty well. Huh?
I did. I like to think I did. PTK, SKD, Honors College, Special Honors, Women of Excellence President. I like to keep busy.
Well, I can tell just based on your personality that you would excel at anything you do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what did you think about the big graduation day?
I loved it. Teared up a couple times, but it was perfect.
Yeah. Now, you told us offline you're from not too terribly far away from Louisville, Mississippi.
Yep,
right?
Originally from Louisville, relocated to New Albany when I was in the 2nd grade. So consider New Albany my hometown.
Okay. And what did you study while you were here at ICC?
I actually double majored in political science and sports journalism.
Okay, gotcha. And what are your plans now that you've got your degree from ICC?
Hope to transfer to the University of Southern Mississippi in the fall. Go Eagles, and then continue my graduate education, and I hope to acquire my PhD one day.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
And in what subject matter?
I believe that I'll probably go down the political science path for that, but I'll probably receive my master's in both poli-sci and journalism for that as well.
So do you have political aspirations? I
actually do. I like to tell people that my ultimate goal is to either be president of the United States or to have my own ESPN show, or maybe both. I might dibble-dabble in both. Who knows?
Well, I heard you tell Senator Daniel Sparks as he was walking out, you hope to have his job one day.
I do want his job. I'm coming for it.
No, you're going higher than that. No disrespect to the good Senator Sparks. He's a great friend and a great state senator. But, okay, so I like you having the aspiration of being president of the United States one day. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Some people say it's like, that's crazy, you can't do that.
Of course you can. Yeah.
Says who?
Yeah. The requirements in our Constitution, there aren't but like a couple. You know, you got to be, 35 and be born in the United States. I think that's about it. So
I have 16 years, and then y'all will see my presidential bid.
Well, I look forward to that. I bet you'll do great at that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are some great memories you have here while you were a student at ICC?
Where do I start? My testimonial with ICC is kind of a unique one. I actually planned on going straight to Ole Miss following high school graduation. Didn't have the best orientation experience, knew that the good Lord was telling me to go elsewhere. And my twin sister, who graduates today as well, was coming to ICC, and she's like, Aaliyah, just try it, for a year. If you don't like it, just transfer. Got to meet Tyler Camp and Dr. J. Allen at the State of the Region meeting when I moderated that girls' leadership panel. And I remember telling Dr. Allen, I'm just going to stay for a year. I'm not going to stay for long. And he said his exact words to me, don't count yourself out, because you never know all the experiences ICC might offer. And 2 years later, I am not ready to leave. But some of my best experiences would definitely have to be from this past year. Like I said before, I served as inaugural president of our Women of Excellence program. And that's been a lot of fun having a mentor like Dr. Kateria Grice, who is actually our advisor for that program. She's done a wonderful job sewing into us young ladies and, teaching us professionalism, etiquette, how to teach, what to wear, what not to wear, and whatnot. I'm also a former pageant girl. I got to do the ICC Most Beautiful pageant both years. So first year I received Most Photogenic, and then this year I received Top 20, which was my goal. That's been a lot of fun. But I can't just pick just one memory just because, the good Lord has allowed me to come here and flourish in so many different ways. And I am forever indebted to the individuals who have played a part in me during my time here.
I know the faculty, the administration here is fantastic. Of course, you talked about Dr. Al and Tyler Camp. Any in particular professors, instructors that really struck you and really influenced you?
So I actually had the same advisor as I had in my original orientation, which is kind of rare because I'm actually an orientation leader as well. So they'll get assigned an advisor, and sometimes they won't have the same one. I had the same one for both years that I've been here, and he constantly jokes with me about how I've been here for 4 years because technically I was supposed to graduate in December, but I literally made a schedule. I was like, I'm not leaving. You all cannot kick me out. So he helped to not only make my classes, but also we'd be in his office, just talking about my aspirations for the future. He played a very, very big part in making my time here very special. Another one would definitely have to be not an instructor, but our bookstore manager, Lee Adams. I call him my school dad. I actually met his brother when I first got here, and then randomly ran into Lee in the bookstore one day, and he just seemed like a very caring, like a big teddy bear, basically. And since then, he's kind of took me under his wing, and he's played a very, very big part in my time here, being very special as well. Another instructor, like I said before, Dr. Kateria Grice, she's played such a big part in me becoming such a well-spoken, professional young woman. But even the ones that I didn't mention, they know who they are, and I'm endlessly grateful for them.
Yeah. Well, be sure and tell them.
I will. I texted some of them. I was like, I don't want to leave, but I have to leave. Y'all are kicking me out. I know that another one of my instructors, I might tear up talking about her, but Miss Griffey, she was my child psychology instructor. I only had her my last semester. But ever since my freshman year, anytime she sees me in the hallway, she will smile at me. And she actually sent all of us a message at the end of the year, saying how it's been a pleasure to be our instructor. Yeah. And I just, messaged her. I said, thank you so, so much for everything that you have done. Even though I only had you one semester, you played such a big part in making these 2 years so special. And I saw her. I turned around at the end of the ceremony. I said, love you. She said it back. So that was very, very special. But I'm not ready to leave.
Okay, so president or ESPN? What'd you want to do at ESPN specifically?
I really want to host my own show. Okay. I'm a big Stephen A. Smith fan. That might be a hot take. I might get murdered for that. Social media, please don't come for me. I really love Stephen A. Smith. Malika Andrews, she's another very, very big influence of mine. I'm a huge sports girl. Okay. Love some sports. Big baseball girl, football, Washington Commanders fan. We will go to the Super Bowl this year. O's fan. We're not doing too hot. Don't want to talk about that though. But I love sports. So I either want to do a career in that, maybe reporting possibly, or hosting my own show might be another one that I might do. Maybe both.
Well, you make a whole lot more money doing that than being president, for what that's worth.
That's valid.
Are there any particular friends that you made here that you're going to leave behind and miss when you move on? Don't cry now.
I'm not. J.C. Vincent is one that I definitely have to highlight. Oh, I'm tearing up. She reminds me of my grandmother in a lot of aspects, who played a huge impact on me becoming the young lady that I am today. Whether it's giving me advice on boys, or just telling me how to grow as a person and be a good, godly young woman. She's helped me greatly in that. Another one, I'd be a fool to not shout out my own twin sister. Even though we've been at each other's throats a couple times while we've been here, she has kept me grounded. I always keep an eye on her, even if she doesn't realize it. I'll, go look at her location. But she was the one who actually originally brought me here, and I'm forever grateful to her for that. And okay. I think she's listening, so if she is, love you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you've had a whole lot of fun here.
I have.
And you've learned a lot at the same time, and now you're all ready to move on to the next phase of life. But I got to ask you this. Do you have any thoughts about perhaps getting married and starting a family one day?
Yes, actually I do. So it's funny you mentioned that because I'm an Indian delegate as well. So at the end of the year, we get our sophomore prophecies. And my prophecy was after Aaliyah marries her baseball husband, she will become a sports reporter and then a government official. And she will slay the day away with her outfits and everything like that. And I thought that was pretty funny because I joke all the time about how I'm going to be a wag one day. Hopefully, please me. But I constantly joke about that. But yes, one day, I do hope to start a family of my own, and have my kids one day be like, my mom's the president, or cool. My mom's on ESPN.
So, we have a text line. We have a number of listeners and folks that also watch our show as well that text us all throughout the show. So you've already got one voter here, by the way. This individual, he's a regular listener. His name's Mailman Clayton. That's how we describe him. He said, it saddens me to think that as a 70-year-old, I may not live long enough to vote for her for president. So there you go. You already got a voter lined up.
I appreciate
that. You made an impression. I mean, there's only 100,000 people or so listening out there that might just line up and vote for
100,000 votes.
That is so awesome. Well, do you think the road is going to get academically a little more rigorous at Southern?
Definitely.
Especially going for your PhD. It's a lot of work in that.
Yep. I actually, I just submitted my application for the Honors College a couple weeks ago. If the good Lord is willing, I'll get in. But definitely think that it will be a little bit more challenging just because, it is a 4-year. But I know that the good Lord has not brought me this far to leave me nor forsake me.
Gotcha. Aaliyah Hudson, a recent Itawamba Community College graduate. What a pleasure and a delight it's been to talk to you, Aaliyah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on, and all the best in your career and whatever turn life takes you to.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, folks, we're stepping aside for a break. We're coming right back. We've got Braden Holcomb, also an ICC graduate, joining MidDays next. That's where we are, Itawamba Community College in Fulton, Mississippi.
And you'll find your fortune falling all over town. Dead pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven. Pennies from heaven for you and me.
Poly up a
Middays with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Itawamba Community College in Fulton, Mississippi. Thanks so much for joining us. It's our pleasure to welcome now another 2025 ICC graduate. That would be Braden Holcomb. Braden, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations. Graduation day. How's it feel?
It feels pretty good. I'm pretty excited to be moving on to the next thing. A little disappointed I'm leaving ICC, but, you know, it's a part of life. You know how it is.
We need to point out that you're not actually from Mississippi, are you?
I'm not from Mississippi. I'm from Red Bay, Alabama, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Pretty small town. You know, we have a dog food mill and Tiffin Motorhomes. So, you know, if you're passing through, you've probably smelled the dog food in the air, but it's a nice place.
So what was your motivation to come to school at Itawamba?
Well, I toured, you know, various different colleges in Alabama. And, you know, I was, of course, considering that because of out-of-state tuition and various different things like that. And then my high school took us on a tour to ICC. And I just really, really enjoyed it. And the whole time I was walking the campus, and I was just like, this place just makes me feel at home, you know. And Red Bay, again, being really small, I graduated with probably 49 people total. And that small town feel was still at ICC, so that's why I really felt drawn to it.
When you shared with your classmates in high school you were going to ICC, did they say what or where is ICC, or what was their reaction?
Well, they, for the most part, a lot of them were going to the University of North Alabama or Northwest Shoals.
Yep.
And, you know, they were like, hey, you need to come with us, you need to come with us. But one, I didn't really feel that that's where the Lord was leading me to go. And two, I just felt that I shouldn't go to a 4-year because I wasn't ready mentally or academically, to be completely honest with you. So I was like, I'm just going to start smaller. And I've never regretted the decision. I've loved it ever since.
Okay. Any particular fond memories that you have during your time here at ICC?
Well, there's a whole bunch of them, honestly. But there's just various different events that we have, from student activities, everything that they put on, and then all the shenanigans you can get into with your friends while here. We found a spot of open land where we would just do donuts in my buddy's truck. So just stuff like that. You know, it's probably not the most legal, but, hey, it is some of the most fun you'll have.
What are your plans now that you've graduated from ICC? What's next?
My original plan is, of course, I'm transferring to Mississippi State University over in Starkville. And then I was planning to go for engineering, mechanical engineering. But since then, I've changed to industrial technology. I think that's a lot more my speed, a lot more the lane I want to go down, working with my hands rather than kind of with a pencil, if that makes sense.
I see. Have you got any thoughts about what sort of job you'd like to work once you get your degree from Mississippi State?
For sure, maintenance and manufacturing. I would love to be able to go to just not necessarily factories, but any kind of industrial place, and machines are tore up, I can go in there, take it completely apart, and put it right back together, fix the issue. I love doing stuff like that.
That stuff's gotten pretty advanced, pretty sophisticated these days, huh?
It absolutely has. It's a evolving field of work, really.
Yeah. But, wow, all of that technology sure does make the manufacturing and the production process a lot more efficient and productive.
It does.
But we need good people to make sure all that stuff's up and running all the time.
And, you know, a big issue now is artificial intelligence.
Sure.
A lot of people are afraid of that, but I think it can be a huge help if used correctly, of course. And so, you know, obviously you can run it by artificial intelligence, get an idea, and of course run it through the human filter, you could say. So I could see it going both ways for that one.
But it's a good augmentation tool.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's not necessarily a replacement, but rather something that folks in that line of work could utilize to just make them more efficient, more productive, and getting their jobs done.
Yeah, I agree.
Get to the answer a lot quicker.
For sure.
Yeah. You got some friends here you're going to miss as you move on? They're scattering about, I guess?
Absolutely. I've made a whole bunch of new friends. I had one who he's from home. He had transferred from a college in Alabama to ICC, and so he's going to state with me. He'll be my roommate next year. But Tanner McCord, he's from Pontotoc, Mississippi. He'll definitely be the one I miss the most of all.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So it's kind of neat going to college and meeting new friends, right?
Oh,
kind of leaving your high school friends behind to some extent. Some of them, of course, trail along with you, but you always end up meeting new people. That's a big part of the experience.
It really is, because I mean you're going from, again, Red Bay with 49 people to a college with close to, I guess, roughly about 3,000, maybe more. And there's so many people you can meet, so many groups you can be a part of, and it's a big community filled with a bunch of little communities, and it's just, you can really find a place anywhere.
So I got to ask you, once you get that industrial technology degree from Mississippi State, you're going to stay in Mississippi, right? You're not going back to Alabama.
I'll be completely honest with you. I think that may be my plan.
That's awesome. We want to keep you here.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to live in Fulton. That'd be great.
That's fantastic.
Just send my kids here. Tuition they wouldn't have to pay out of state like I did.
There you go. Braden, you're already thinking, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're an impressive young man, and we appreciate you coming on, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
You having me.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. But we're going to keep you here in Mississippi now.
Hey,
Counting on that.
I'll stay here.
All right. We're stepping aside for a break. It's time for Fox News and SuperTalk News. David Rumbarger is next on Middays. The Element Well Studio is at Itawamba Community College for graduation day. Coming right back.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Winter is here again, oh Lord. Haven't been home in a year, oh Lord.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Itawamba Community College. It's graduation day on the ICC campus in Fulton, Mississippi on this
Friday, y'all.
It's our pleasure to welcome now David Rumbarger. He's the president and the CEO of the Community Development Foundation, the CDF, here in the area. David, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It's good to be here.
So this is a big event, always special time here at Itawamba Community College. The Dr. Jay Allen, of course, he'll be on with us in the next segment. He's done a fantastic job here in interviewing these students. They're so impressive. It's so good to see that.
They really are. They got some excitement and energy that I'd love to get a little portion of.
Well, and you see that, and it kind of restores your faith in our young people, does
it?
It not?
Does. It absolutely
I mean, they've got it going on. They're so articulate. They're so impressive. They're so outgoing. You know, you worry about all these crazy electronic tools we have today and how that's kind of become the more common way to communicate, but you can't tell that by talking to these students.
Not the last couple you've had, for sure.
I guarantee you. So it's been fantastic. We appreciate being part of it. All right, tell us what the latest is going on with the Community Development Foundation.
Well, we've had a phenomenal year. I mean, it's been a tremendous run. Over $260 million invested by notable companies like Liebherr, Amazon, Grammar, and Ashley Furniture. And so we're really, our motto is service after the sale. So love the groundbreakings, love the different announcements, but really, I mean, you land the company after that to make sure all the details of their location and development is smooth and going right. And there's always going to be hiccups.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just nothing's going to go perfectly. And so we really manage the hiccups, and we're managing a few hiccups right now, but it's good.
Yeah.
And Liebherr will have 500,000 square feet by 26, end of 26, and about 170 employees, and it's a Swiss manufacturer. This is their North American, which would be North America, South America, and Central America distribution headquarters. And it will be kind of a milestone event for their company, and we've got other divisions. They've got 11, 12 other divisions that are looking at locations around this area because of that distribution center. So we've got 2 of them right now that we're working down to the short rows on, but Fantastic privately held company. They make their own decisions. They're not necessarily worried about policy. They're in it for the long haul. They've got a real 20-mile mentality.
And that's what you want. You make a great point, too. These companies, they know there are going to be glitches and hiccups. It's really not a matter of whether or not you can deliver the experience without any of those glitches and hiccups. It's about how you manage them and respond to them. Yeah,
exactly.
They know that's going to happen.
Oh yeah. And then how you engage public officials where you need to, engage even federal agencies like FAA, like the Corps of Engineers and others to have those relationships to be able to smooth out those ruffles. And it really all is misunderstanding.
Yeah.
You put something on paper, an engineer reads it remotely, and they take one take, and it really wasn't the take that we had intended when they put it that way. So it's working out those processes.
When you're dealing with these prospects, David, what's your sales pitch? What are you telling them?
Well, I ask them to look at the diversity. We have a tremendous diverse economy in this Northeast Mississippi area that's based on manufacturing. 1 out of every 5 people that you will meet in this area works in manufacturing.
Wow. Okay.
One of the highest percentages in the country for a corridor. Mm-hmm. And so first, if it's a manufacturing history, there's a manufacturing presence here. Secondly, they're going to be able to find the people that they want. Labor's the biggest issue for all these companies. And being able to find the folks just out of ICC and others that have the skills and abilities, that are willing to learn a trade, willing to get involved. I mean, these jobs, I've got some statistics here, and these jobs are paying upwards of $25 an hour. And when you annualize that, I mean, that's a $40,000 job starting out.
Yeah.
And it's only going up from there. It's absolutely good money. And we've got 11,000 in Lee County. In the Northeast Mississippi area, there's over 60,000 in manufacturing. So it's a real central to our state economy.
Do you feel like, David, that the president's policies, his focus on repatriating manufacturing, which is a key part of his tariff strategy, that you'll benefit from that?
That's a long game. Yeah. Most of these decisions are planned 5 years out.
Yeah.
So we've got to get in that cycle of planning, and they can cut that cycle down to 24, 36 months if the tariff process works. And so far, it seems to be, we've got a lot of interest. So far, it seems to be working.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is the phone ringing?
Phone is ringing. Phone is ringing.
That's great.
Existing industries that are multinational and companies that are looking to make that first step that may be in the Asian or European economies and want to make that first step. And, of course, we've had some great first step companies. Grammar Corporation, Liebherr is not a first step. They're in Virginia, but first step for production and distribution here. And other companies like Toyota that have multinational opportunities. So we make that case a lot.
Well, we've had some significant success in landing major investments across the state. Of course, I'm from Madison County, and we've been working that deal at AWS. And even though the investment itself is in Madison County, I really believe there's significant outgrowth that particular project and others of that scale, they serve as catalysts for growth elsewhere, even in the state. Because people take note, like, well, if it's good enough for them, what do we need to find out about what's going on in Mississippi then?
It's important for our economy to make that transition. When Toyota came in 2007, they brought the Toyota production system. It elevated every manufacturer in the area. AWS will elevate every company in the area. And, of course, we got a last mile facility here, Amazon last mile facility in Lee County. And so we got a little bit of that benefit, too.
Heck yeah. And they maintain they're going to invest even more. But I think the world is taking note of what's going on in Mississippi, and they're saying, well, again, these are major companies that are putting a lot of money into the state. Maybe we need to check it out. I think we'll all benefit from that.
We still have one major obstacle, though.
What's that?
We need to keep the people that we have, and we need to grow our cities and counties.
Completely agree.
I mean, you look at the negative growth population across the cities. We've lost a congressional seat in the last 20 years.
Yep.
This is something that is more quality of life based, and from the political standpoint, it's hard to attack that. It really happens at a local level, the cities and the counties. And so state policy is one thing, but cities and counties have to step up. They got to be better looking. They've got to have more amenities. They have to have more accommodation of newcomers. We've done a lot in Tupelo, just because that's been our focus for the last 10 or 15 years, but it needs to even go further. Jay Allen was telling me 90% of the graduates of ICC here will eventually, if not initially, come back here and spend their time in their professional careers locally.
So desperately needed. No doubt about
desperately
it.
needed. Yeah. And so we need to grow, and part of that growth is multifaceted. It's child care, it's housing, it's ease of transportation, and it's quality jobs. You know, in the past we used to talk about the Mississippi discount. You know, the companies could pay less in Mississippi for labor. Well, my companies are not paying less anymore. The hospital, the banks, the manufacturers are paying at par nationwide.
And should. We don't want them to pay less.
So here you've got 84% of the national average for cost of living. So that 16% needs to go into the employee's pocket and let them benefit from the cost of living here, not necessarily just the companies that benefit.
It should be an emphasized goal, should it not, David, that we focus on lifting our per capita income, our household income. You know, we lag in that category, and we're only going to do that with economic growth.
It's funny you say that. I was going to bring you a statistic today for Lee County. In 2015, our per capita was $22,282. In 2025, it's $33,735. That's a 51.3 increase in 10 years. And that's our goal. I mean, our goal is better jobs and more frequent jobs there in Lee County. And so we're trying to raise that. Toyota was a big part of that.
Yeah. But everybody benefits when those numbers are moving up.
Absolutely.
Everybody does, including the cities and the counties themselves, because they have more disposable income. They're spending more of that money. They're able to acquire more expensive assets that are subject to property taxes and so forth. They're spending monies in the stores. They're generating sales taxes for the municipalities. This is the way to improve our state.
It's a capitalistic society economy.
Exactly
it really is. And we've gone away from that in many, many years past, and we really need to focus back on that.
I completely agree. Well, the good news there, I think you have to give some credit to the governor. He's hyper-focused on economic development, as a governor should be.
And we've had a string of good governors.
We have, exactly right. Governor Haley Barbour, Phil Bryant, all fantastic in the economic development category. You could argue that they kind of set the foundation for a lot of the success we're enjoying today.
Yeah, Governor Reeves has just come from Select USA, which is the large event in Washington, D.C., where a lot of international companies come in. And he was spent time in the booth, met individuals, spoke at the event, went to the receptions. And, I mean, he worked the room just like you and I would do, shaking hands. And
what he should be doing.
Exactly.
It's what our president's been doing over in the Middle East, which is
got a good example, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what happens when you have, in his case, a business person disruptor that breaks through all those kind of traditional glass ceilings, if you will, is not afraid to do that.
Absolutely.
So, David, appreciate you coming on. David Rumbarger, he is the president and CEO of the Community Development Foundation in the area. Thanks a lot, David. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're stepping aside for a break. We're coming right back with the president of Itawamba Community College. It's Dr. Jay Allen.
For the Mississippi.
We interrupt this program.
Gerard Gibert.
Here we go.
This is huge. Huge news. Huge news. Huge. You need to listen to this.
Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Itawamba Community College. That's where we have relocated for today, the Element Wealth Studio. It's graduation day on campus. It's our pleasure to welcome now the president of Itawamba Community College, Dr. Jay Allen. Dr. Allen, always good to see you, sir.
It's great to see you, Gerard, as well, no doubt.
Big day here, and I got to start out just by telling you that if the measurement of your success, which it should be, is the quality of the students, the two that we interviewed today, if they reflect the quality of the student body as a whole, you guys are doing a pretty good job.
Well, I appreciate that. We gave you two great ones to interview. We've got a lot more like it, without a doubt.
It's a great time of the year to celebrate student success. It's also a little bit sad because I'm going, man, I'm watching these great leaders come across our stage. They're so talented in our music programs and the like. How are we going to replace them? But August comes around and I see our new students coming in. I'm like, okay, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. So we've been blessed. We do have a great group of students.
That's awesome. So a big day. How gratifying is this for you, Jay, to stand on that stage and confer those degrees to these people that have worked so hard?
It's an awesome responsibility. I mean, it really is. It's a pleasure. It's a true benefit to stand up there and provide leadership for this college, for these students, to challenge them to go to the next level and do great things. And that was some part of my comments today is don't let good be the enemy of great, and talk to them a little bit about Jim Collins' book on that real quick, and just planted that seed that you can do great things, but you can't ever settle for just doing good things.
Yeah.
And so, and use some of those quotes about, you know this from your business background. You can achieve greatness, but you got to do it through great employees, great leadership.
No doubt about it.
And, you've got to have that focus. And so, that's what we focus on. And it just reminds me when I see these students and how much they've accomplished and how much they've grown. And then to see them a year or two later, or 2 years later, graduate at the university, or they're at one of our local industries and they're making a difference, and they're having great earning potential there. So
in the workforce,
it's exciting, absolutely.
Yeah, and we also want him to stay right here in Mississippi while we're at it, right?
100%. I have some data to share with you on that, if you don't mind.
I knew you would.
I've got it. We did an economic impact study as community colleges. All 15 of us went in together, and then we got some individual college data. So 90% of our associate degree and certificate graduates go on to either work in the state or enroll in one of Mississippi's four-year public universities.
Okay.
So 90%.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now, we're about 98% Mississippi residents at Itawamba Community College.
Okay.
So, that's wonderful. We have, then you'll also end up with, we're running about a 50% graduation rate. That's compared to about 40.1% as a system of community colleges. So we feel really good about that. But we transfer more students to Mississippi State University than any other community college, and that's proximity by and large, but it's also, I think, the work that our faculty are doing in the classroom. So IHL gives us some data every year, and we're able to look at that at our graduates and the amount of degrees they're producing when they transfer to one of those 8 public universities, and they're producing the second highest number of bachelor's degrees of any community college in the state. And we only are missing the number one by 34 graduates. And so I'm on it. We're going to try to beat that.
Absolutely.
But what's great is our graduates have done that with the highest GPA of all community college transfers and a higher GPA than the student who started at the university. So that means our faculty are quality, and they're doing quality work in the classroom and supporting those students. And then all of those wraparound services and experiences are promoting success in the classroom.
That's totally awesome. So what's the enrollment now?
Enrollment's 5,200 or so.
Okay.
We're looking for some increase this fall as well. We house 1,246. I could probably house 1,446 or more. We'll have 300 plus on the waiting list, I'm afraid, by the time we get to housing assignments in the next week or so. Great problem to have, but I wish I had more space.
Well, I was going to say, we're kind of bucking the trends in higher education in the state of Mississippi relative to the rest of the country, are we not?
We are. And in my opinion, Mississippi has the best community college system in the country.
No doubt.
And I've worked in another state as president, and so I've seen that. What makes this one so successful is you have residential campuses with athletics, 220-member marching band on this campus, so it feels like a university setting. It's that true collegiate atmosphere, but at a price point nobody else can touch. And the great thing is we take students no matter how prepared or ill-prepared they are, and we get them to success. At a price point, again, nobody else can touch. So when we put all that together for the state, it's a product really very few states offer, if any, at the level we do.
You would agree, I believe, that the true litmus test is the testimony from the employers.
Absolutely.
What do they tell you?
They're telling us, we have a strong partnership with our industries that are hiring our career tech graduates. So those students that have a 1 or 2 year degree graduating with us and going straight to the workforce. And so an apprenticeship model. Most of them are in class 2 days a week, and it's a long 8 to 4:30 type day, and then they work 3 days a week with one of those apprenticeship partners. So it's an earn and learn model. They're getting paid well. Most of them get job offers afterwards. So they're giving us immediate feedback as those students are growing both educationally and experiencing that job site. We want that feedback. That's part of that partnership.
Sure.
And then we have our advisory groups for each program. So they're giving us that feedback as well, especially as we find out what's coming in the industry next. And so in our manufacturing setting, we've seen a huge amount of automation. So that means we have to then be prepared with the newest robots they're using and find a way to purchase those trainers and be ready for that. And so it's a give and take. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to have their help at times, their knowledge, but sometimes their assistance in buying power.
Yeah.
Toyota's been great to donate us some robots they were taking off the floor, still operational. Our students are able to use those, put multiple robots in one cell and see and learn how those work together. So it's that it takes that effort, but they want more of our graduates. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
They're not asking for less, they're always asking for more.
Well, to a great extent, they're equally your customer as are the students, right?
100% they are. We have to keep them as happy as we keep our students as a reality.
Yeah.
And we want them to want more. We want them to be proud of the work that's being done by those students. We love it when they bring our graduates that are now working for them back to those recruiting efforts for those to get more apprenticeships. So that's the thing. It's our students get to shop. They don't have to take the only one that they get because they're going to get multiple offers most of the time.
It's a tight market.
Absolutely.
It's a competitive market.
Absolutely.
Good news for the students.
Absolutely.
Seeking employment.
In our health science area, there's always need for more nurses, more healthcare workers, and so we're very proud of what's occurring in that area as well. And it's a constant churn of keeping up the quality of employee we're putting out as a graduate. So we're working at that all the time as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Something that's impressed me, Dr. Allen, to the last few years at least, that there's more collaboration between higher ed, and industry, and it hasn't always been that way.
It hasn't. I inherited a really good model here, so this is my ending of my 8th year, and so I've been able to fan that flame and work to grow that more. I've got a tour coming up, I believe, next week at another industry partner. I try to do those about once a month and see what's happening in manufacturing, sell them what we can do for them in a training environment.
Sure.
How we could leverage state dollars when appropriate, how our trainers have expertise, or we can help them find people that have the expertise to do that training. And we have repeat customers all the time, obviously, and so we're working to meet that need for them. It takes a partnership.
Yeah.
When I tour, I ask, what's next?
Yeah.
What's coming to you next? And how do I prepare for that? And we've seen a plant here, Stanley Black & Decker, was not automated much at all when it was MTD. Stanley Black & Decker came in and bought that, and they've improved automation at a tremendous pace. They didn't lay anybody off. But as natural attrition occurs, they move people around the plant. Sure. But now they need more of our industrial maintenance techs, more of our precision machinists. So that's the beauty of this, is that we're training people not just for the jobs of today, but the jobs of the future.
Yeah.
And they're changing. There's no doubt about it.
Well, even what were customarily and historically more labor-intensive type jobs, those have gotten to be a lot more intellectual, a lot more sophisticated, a lot more complex, and you need an education for that.
And you're going to use an iPad in many of those jobs versus a wrench.
That's a good point.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Our ability to program PLCs, programmable logic control.
Yeah.
When you pull up to the red light, that's what tells it you're sitting there and which light to turn on and off. And our guys and women, they program that.
Yeah.
And so we just opened up a new robotics lab. So we renovated space at our Belden Center, put in our new robotics lab. Unbelievable facility. But it's really twofold. One is a better space for our students to learn. But probably the most important part is it is so inviting to tour groups. As we tour K-12 through, as we tour industry through, new industry that's looking to locate here through, they see what we're able to do. And it's in a situation that is wonderful to tour through, where before it was not. And now it is. It's important. We've got to entice these students to look at career tech. We don't have near enough asking about these programs. And so anything we can do to get their interest piqued and for them to see how high tech it is, that's the exciting part.
It truly is fantastic. And before we go, another point I want to make. You guys in the community college community within the state, you collaborate and idea share quite a bit.
We do. We work together well. I think that's always been that way. I hope it's better now than it might have been in the past even. And it takes that. We have to learn from each other. We have to know that our partner in another part of the state is serving a region of the state, and they may not have the same need we do, and vice versa.
Sure.
So we learn from each other.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Dr. Jay Allen, the president of Itawamba Community College, has been our guest. It's graduation day. Jay, congratulations on all your success and all these students for their achievements as well. And thanks for your service to them and that of all your team here.
We appreciate it. Glad y'all are with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. We got half an hour of middays remaining. Once again, we're at Itawamba Community College. We're on the campus in Fulton, Mississippi. Stay with us. Coming right back.
Gerard Gibert. Going beyond the headlines, breaking down the stories that matter to Mississippi. Middays with Gerard on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Itawamba Community College. It's a graduation day. Commencement exercises underway. And, in fact, we're actually in the building where the commencement exercises occur. We're in one of the rooms on the mezzanine, kind of a break-type room, and kind of a lounge. But outside the glass doors and windows here, we can see they're gathering up again for another session. Dr. Allen had to run and put his cap and gown on and get ready to hand out some more degrees. So it's a big day here. It's so neat to see all these families come together celebrating their graduate. Really a cool deal. Mailman Clayton, by the way, he was pretty impressed with Aaliyah Hudson, an ICC graduate that we interviewed on the program earlier. She was quite impressive, and so was Braden Holcomb. I mean, they were both just very impressive individuals, youngsters. They're youngsters to me, at least. I guess they're technically a man and a woman, but they're embarking upon the next phase of their lives, having graduated here from ICC. Mailman Clayton says, wow, in all caps. I agree, Mailman. She was quite impressive, man. It was cool, no doubt about it. So while we were in the last segment, the news just broke that the Congress was unable, the House there, was unable to pass the House budget bill. Some of the members who want deeper cuts, we shared that with you earlier in the program. Sure enough, they spoke up. They weren't kidding, and they blocked it. So we're nowhere. 5 Republicans voted against their parties. I mean, these were all Republicans. They voted against their own party's domestic spending bill. Said it's got to go further. Chip Roy of Texas, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Josh Brecheen of Oklahoma, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, and Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania. They joined Democrats in voting to block the legislation. The vote this was in the committee, 16-21 on a motion to advance the bill out to the floor. So it looks like they're going to keep on stirring the sausage. Representative Jody Arrington of Texas told the members, this is the committee's chairman, by the way, they could return to their districts. A sign that the leaders did not expect the standoff to be resolved quickly. Quote, well, the noes have it, Mr. Arrington said as the vote was concluded. I want to thank everybody for their time and patience, and Godspeed and safe travels. Rhino, this is after staying up for 26 hours straight. The Democrats had an amendment-orama. Oh, my gosh. They threw everything in the kitchen sink in amendments trying to get their fame. You know that's what that's all about. Knowing it had no chance, and that's when we got photos and video of members that were dozing off in their chairs. But they were up for 26 hours. Mr. Smucker, who changed his yes vote to a no, he's one of the 5 dissenters. He said at the last minute he did so for procedural, not substantive reasons. He voted against the bill. He will be able to ask to call the legislation back up for consideration once Republicans broker a deal, assuming there will be a deal brokered. But the party's trying to push through would make the tax cuts permanent. That's what it includes. Eliminate taxes on tips and overtime. There's something else about the overtime pay that in doing a little research on as much as available with respect to details, because it's one of those things that there's a framework included in the draft of the legislation, but of course the agency, in this case the Department of Treasury, the IRS, would be responsible for codifying and promulgating the details. But with respect to taxation of overtime, it's not all overtime pay. It's just the premium. So your base pay is still subject to overtime, to taxation. Your base pay part of the overtime pay. It's the premium part. You make time and a half, for example. You're still paying for overtime. You still pay taxes on the straight time, but you won't pay on the premium. Also, the legislation includes, of course, cuts to Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidies for clean energy, part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Those are the cost offsetting measures and provisions included in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Of course, remember, this is over 10 years, all the numbers you see tossed about. I was glad to hear Senator Ron Johnson this morning on an interview point that out, clarify that. Hey, when they're talking about $2 trillion in cuts, they're talking about over 10 years, we're running a $2 trillion deficit this year. So you're only addressing 10% of it. So I was pleased to hear the senator point that out because I think that often gets overlooked. But this is a big revolt, and this is going to send House Republican leaders back to the drawing board to try to negotiate things that would placate these hardliners. I don't even know if I'd call them hardliners. I guess that's maybe I misspoke there. These are just people that feel strongly that we need more cuts. And I'm with them. I mean, this thing spends $86 trillion over 10 years. You can do the math. That's $8.6 trillion a year on average. We're spending this year $7 trillion. It's incredible to think that not so long ago, 2019, the last year before the big COVID spending kicked in 2020, that for fiscal year 2019, we spent about $4.5 trillion. Now we're spending $7 trillion in this new measure. It proposes $8.6 trillion. So that doesn't look like we're going in the right direction if you're interested in seeing some sort of cuts to spending. In fact, we're going in quite the opposite. Well, as the panel was convening today, just a little while ago, the president weighed in on social media. He wrote that Republicans, in all caps, must unite behind the One Big Beautiful Bill. He says, we don't need grandstanders in the Republican Party. He added, stop talking and get it done. So Representative Chip Roy says, I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is hunky-dory when this is the Budget Committee. This is the Budget Committee. We are supposed to do something to actually result in balanced budgets, but we're not doing it. Thus, he voted no against the legislation. I haven't seen what impact that's having on the market. I would think that it would rattle the markets a little bit. Maybe the markets still feel confident that something will get done, that this is just kind of a so-called bump in the road. But what it tells you is that how tenuous things are when you got such a small balance of power, such a small majority in the House of the total 435. You can't lose but 3, and 5 on the committee at least said no. You'd have to think they'd be no's if it got to the floor. So this is a problem, and I really don't know what's going to happen at this point. It's hard to predict. Thomas in Greenwood, he also says that Trump broke with the traditional Republican ideology of not increasing taxes, said he'd love to tax wealthier Americans. Yeah, that's kind of old news, though, Thomas. He has since backed off somewhat on that, so I don't know that that's still in play. I don't think it is. But these 5 members of the House, and they said that they're a no. So it looks like the Dow is still faring pretty well today. I think that's because investors feel like this is a bump in the road, that the president probably get these 5 on the phone and have a chat with them and see if he can pull them across the finish line. And my bet's on him that he'll be able to achieve that. I think that's what's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm not – part of me's not surprised because they kept telling us. They kept telling us that they were going to do that. And, of course, Thomas points out this is an article today where the president said that he would be okay if taxes were raised on the higher incomes. I think at this point he's pretty anxious to get a deal done. And he's also encouraging the members to strongly consider the reduction of prescription drug costs that would figure into the budget. But I've done a little research on that. One of the things that I found out is that, and Rhino, this is something I think that you feel strongly about, is that the price of generic drugs in this country is considerably less than it is across the pond and in other countries. It's the name brand patent protected drugs. That's where there's a huge disparity. But for the most part, we pay less for prescription drugs when they're the generic category relative to the rest of the country. So I think it's a little bit misleading what's being done here, and I'm not sure how the pharmaceutical companies are going to react. Final segment of Middays from Itawamba Community College. Its graduation day is coming up next.
The One Buck, Mississippi. Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
One more time.
Welcome back, everyone. Middays is live at Itawamba Community College. I've enjoyed being here on the campus. It's a fantastic institution, great people. Enjoyed talking to all the guests today, starting with the mayor. We had a representative, a senator from the area, 2 students, economic development representative, and then, of course, the president of the community college, Dr. Jay Allen. So we were just talking about the one big, beautiful bill that looks like is not going to happen anytime soon. And there are objections to the lack of further spending cuts. I think folks are going to be surprised when they see that ultimately the cuts are minor. And it's something we've talked about many times. The general sentiment in Washington among Republicans, and again taking their cue from the presidents, we're not touching Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. You really can't touch debt interest. You got to meet your obligation there. Increase in spending on defense. So by the time you add all that up, that's roughly 85% of the total. Now you're down to 15%. That's all the rest of government. And there are some spending cuts that are contemplated in the bill. And even though there are cuts to Medicaid, once again, those are cuts in the rate of increase. The work requirements are projected at least to reduce spending. And there's some work requirements for SNAP, but that's a small amount, honestly. We already have work requirements, but it extends the ages that make that impose that requirement for work to receive SNAP benefits. And there's some states that actually have waivers in place that allow them to enroll people in the SNAP program, the current SNAP program, even if a recipient is within the age range where work is required. They have waivers that allow them to essentially circumvent that requirement. Ben from Madison says, the more I read about the SALT issue, the more I really don't like it. It's like the states with lower taxes at the state and local level are subsidizing the states with higher taxes at those levels. I feel like the folks in higher tax states should be handling that issue at the state and local level, not at the federal level. That's absolutely true. I completely concur, Ben. And that honestly was the goal. The goal when the cap was implemented in the 2017 law was to persuade and motivate those states to get right with their state and local taxes. That hasn't happened. In fact, quite the opposite has happened. And consequently, the Democrats, for sure, that mostly represent those states, they have been clamoring for an increase in the cap, if not full elimination of the cap. But now we have Republicans that are also, they believe, working on behalf of their constituents to increase the cap. But that's exactly what's happening. The problem is that sometimes insurance won't allow you to get the generic drug, says Dan in Hattiesburg. Yeah, and this all goes back, again, Dan, to government intervention in the healthcare market. I hear what you're saying. That's in response to the information I shared earlier about the generic drugs costing less than the cost of drugs in other nations. You know, Dan, I suspect if you check it out that the copays on the name brand drugs probably exceed the cost of the generic drug without any insurance reimbursement. Not always, but it is something to take a look at. But Rhino's dead on. This is something that policy folks who have been studying this issue and making recommendations about how to solve this problem, this prescription drug cost problem, for years, which is that we need patent reform. Rhino, you called it out a couple of days ago about how they just change a little bitty tiny amount of the formula, the chemical formula, right, in the way they make the drug, and boom, okay, new patent, extend it for another several years.
Yeah, they don't even change the formula. They'll just change the dosage. Like if you've got a 100 milligram tablet that treats, I don't know, the sniffles. We'll just use generic stuff here. 100 milligram tablet cures the sniffles. Well, the patent's running out on it in about a year. We better do something or we're going to lose the patent, and everybody's going to be able to make the generic for it, and we're not going to make all this money off of it. Oh, wait. Yeah. What if we cut that down to 75 milligrams and it's for a deviated septum because it'll only clear out one of your nostrils? Oh, well, that's a different illness. So we can patent it for a different illness.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's scamming, I believe, and gaming the patent system. And that's what needs to stop, honestly. I would think would have a bigger impact on the price of prescription drugs maybe than any other policy. And that is something the government can do because patents are a privilege. And the government confers those patents, and they certainly are within their right to make some reforms there. But, folks, we're out of time here today. It's been a pleasure to be on the campus of Itawamba Community College, a great example of the fine community college institutions across the Magnolia State. Back with you again Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.